Welcome everyone to our Friday evening talk organised by Brahma Kumaris, Leicester and Harrow. We are actually now live on Zoom, webcast, YouTube and Facebook, so great. The topic this evening is mind detox, and we all talk about body detox, but maybe it's time to talk about mind detox. I'm very, very happy to welcome a very special speaker we have this evening, Sister Jenna. I want to share a bit about her. She's the director of the Brahma Kumaris Meditation Museum in Washington, DC, USA. She's the host of the popular America Meditating radio show. She's also the recipient of the President's Lifetime National Community Service Award. Sister Jenna was selected by Empower a Billion Women 2020 as one of the 100 most influential leaders. And she served as a principal partner with the Oprah Winfrey Network and Values Partnerships on the Belief team. So we're very, very lucky to have you with us tonight, and I'm really looking forward to this. Just to say, any questions and comments, please put in the chat, and we hope we can pick them up in the end. But a very, very warm welcome, Sister Jenna.
Thank you so much. It's such a sweet experience to be with friends and family in the UK and around the world. You know, I don't think we would have ever predicted that technology would become such a tool to bring us together so intimately during such a particular time. And wow, I don't think we'll ever be able to find the words to describe what we're going through. So Om Shanti. Hi, everybody. Om Shanti. So nice to be with you. So as we look into our discussion on detox, wow, what a great topic, huh? Let me give you a little story of what I've been going through maybe the past 2.5 months. And I'm sure everybody will maybe resonate with how detoxing the mind is so vital in helping you navigate during very unique times. Let me back up even before 2.5 months ago. But as you know, the pandemic is upon us and we're opening up here in the United States little by little. So that's been good news. Half of the country has been vaccinated. That's very, very good news. And last year when we closed up the meditation museums, it was in March of 2020. And I think in about May or April, end of April or beginning of May, I bumped into a beautiful health opportunity. Then between May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, I was being entertained by my health opportunity. And even though there were different things being pushed into my body or being taken out of my body, I was recognizing where my thoughts were during the whole ordeal or during the whole opportunity. And I remembered very well thinking to myself that nothing that's happening to me can take me away from my truth or my power, that whatever this health opportunity is, it's happening for me to move me towards a deeper or better understanding of my value or my worth. And I can tell you the list was endless of the things that I discovered during that particular period in time. And as I was venturing down this pathway, I remembered inviting friends to join me, to say, let's keep having the most powerful vibrations and best wishes and all of that. And I didn't know that a few of my friends that were we created like a prayer circle. And I had not known that a few of my friends themselves inherited a health opportunity. And as I was going through my health opportunity, they too were paralleling my health opportunity. And in one way, your system was getting something very toxic in your system, but your mind was going detox, detox, detox because you couldn't. And I remembered my friends coming together and mobilizing this very powerful, treatment for me to bring in all of this good energy and vitamins and nutrients and supplements to build my body, because it's COVID time, your body's getting really, really vulnerable. And I still had the fortune of being around people during the lockdown in America. So, I'm going through this particular, what started as a health crisis. I said, nothing can be a crisis for me. It's a health challenge. And I went, okay, I get it. It's a challenge. But then as I started to clean out the possibilities of what this health situation could mean to my life, everyone, I ended up coining it as a health opportunity. And when I started to define it and call it the health opportunity, I don't know what happened. It was like everything just opened up. I felt healthy. I felt great. I felt strong. I felt ready to take over the world. And I realized how important the way you interpret the things that you see or you go through is vital. And after that whole process that I went through and traveling with friends on the journey together, a month or two after finishing all of my health stuff that I needed to take care of, the house that we were living in for 14 years, the owner found a buyer and basically sold the house from underneath us and had no interest in us trying to get the property from him or buying it from him. And for, that initial moment when he says you have less than 2 months to relocate, I had different emotions. Like, has humanity learned nothing during this pandemic? That came up. The second thing is, I have to be careful because I know this soul, this energy of this soul might not always be in the most positive, intentional space. I don't want to trigger too much. And then the third thing is, you know what? I'm God's child. It's going to work out. Whatever it is, I have to see this through. I'm not moving me, I'm moving family, community, energies. That same night, I got on the phone and on the internet, and I started to do a search for property. And we've been in the area for 14 years. And if you've ever visited any of the Brahma Kumari spaces, you know from the moment you walk into the space, the energy of purity and peace and the vibrations that's created in the space as a result of the residents is very palpable. And perhaps the only thing I was attached to was the vibration that was created in that home for 14 years. Would you believe this? Because I was really committed in not letting my mind hold any toxic negative vibrations. I was just focused on what was important, what needed to get done. And as a result of that, in 4 days, we found our new home, our new property that we are now living in on 7 acres, beautiful space with 9 bedrooms. And that we found in 4 days because there wasn't any toxicity in my system where I was wasting my thought power thinking about this man, what he did, how could he do it. I'm not saying that I didn't have some element of thoughts that what is happening with our humanity? And that in itself was also signaling to me, don't go down that road. Don't do it. This is important. You're in the middle of a pandemic. This man wants you out of his house in less than 2 months. Do not waste a single thought about what he did, didn't do, should have done. You've got to move on to something better, healthier, and happier for you. Folks, in 4 days, I found a new home. I wouldn't say I found it. The home found us. Why? Because consciousness was clear. And everybody who was involved, they were clear. They were like, yep, let's go. Let's get going. Let's put this together. And here we are. We moved in about 2 months ago now. And I'm still getting acclimated into the space. But guess what? This morning when I woke up and I went to the kitchen, I opened up the cabinet. And as I opened up the cabinet, I usually only have coffee. I've never seen this before, but there is a tea in there, like a tea container. And the tea container was written detox, detox on it. And I was saying, how do you know I'm giving this talk today? And as I'm taking my coffee down and the creamer, I would look up and I would see detox, and I'm taking my coffee and I'm putting in my cream. Detox, detoxing the mind. I've been through so much in the last few months, and everything that I was going through was for me and for everyone connected to me. What I was realizing with the whole process of detoxing, it is to cleanse out any impurity that somehow has entered into our system. And it's interesting that, you know, it sort of connects to your physical and emotional well-being, because whenever you drink a perfectly made cup of tea, you can feel that cleansing process taking place through you. And even though I was drinking my coffee, I was thinking of the tea. And in my mind, as I'm drinking the coffee, I kept saying, you know, I should just do the detox instead of the coffee. And how many of us out there have had moments of thoughts where the thoughts are telling you to choose a better option, but you stay with what you're accustomed to? Hands up, put it in the chat box. How many of you are guilty of doing that? Where you know you shouldn't eat this, you shouldn't think this, you shouldn't say this, you shouldn't do this, but you do it anyway. Somehow, some way, we get so used to putting certain energies in our system, whether it's physical or conscious or consciously, we put thoughts in our system. And we get so accustomed to it that even the cure is right there. I can't tell you how long that tea box was there that said detox. And today was the first day I saw that tea box. What? Just because it's in my mind now? The fact that I know that I had to talk about detoxing the mind, the moment I started to think about detoxing the mind, not only did thoughts emerge in my thinking today to be detoxed, but the universe actually manifested a tea box that said detox. I've never seen that before. But because it came in my framing, all of a sudden, my energies, something started to change in my energies. And then somehow my thoughts started to somehow create and attract and bring to me the shift in my thinking, what I am intending to do. And I feel that when we think about the importance of this kind of a quality self-care and looking out for ourselves now, this is what I coin pure selfishness. What is the opposite of impure selfishness or pure selfishness? Well, that's easy for me. Pure selfishness means I'm uplifted and then I have the ability to uplift you. Impure selfishness is I don't really care about you, it's all about me. When we get this opportunity to look at What are these options? We have options. We now know in this particular age of time that one of the greatest powers we possess is the power to choose. And even if we have a particular habit that we've gotten comfortable with or has more power over our better judgment, still the fact that I know there is an option and there's always another way that perhaps I could do something better for me, it'll keep knocking on your door. I bet after today, every morning now, I will see that detox cup box of tea, which I've never seen before. Now that must have been there maybe a month ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. I don't know. But for the first time, I saw that. And for the Brahma Kumaris to be doing this conversation on detoxing the mind now, I think it's an invitation for all of us to become aware, awakened, in touch, in tune with, are you ready to detox and take out all of those thoughts and feelings and vibrations and experiences that you've gotten too used to, and it's like putting poison in your system, You walk around with the impurities. You speak, you eat with it, you go to bed with it, you wake up with it. It's just, you're so used to it. I came up with an acronym that I use in many of my discussions. It's an acronym, ALGE. A for anger, L for lust, G for greed, A for attachment, and E for ego. Think about this for a little. Do you have any traces of this toxin in your system? Anger, lust, greed, attachment, or ego? Any trace of it at all? As much as I've done so many conversations on algae, here I am, 2 months later, many years on my path of spiritual enlightenment. I'm still working on it, haven't gotten there yet. I will. I'm not there yet, but I will get there. The sister who lives with me is also my mother. And even though we have 9 bedrooms, she's sharing the room with me. And I made that decision with a very detoxed mind and intellect and awareness and personality and motive and intention that she's in a very severe period of her dementia. And so she won't really know where she is anymore. And I didn't want the rest of my brothers or sisters to have to deal with her. And there's so much to do. And, everything is new for us here, which I call Om Shanti Village. And I've not been in a space like that for a long time. And I would wake up and there'd be a variety of things going on, either in the middle of the night, during the night, or in the early morning hours. So that left me extremely sleep deprived. But what fascinated me was for me to actually witness the toxins that were coming out of me. I had often thought that my system was pretty clean, or that I had managed my systems pretty well, that I will choose if I wish to put a toxin in my system. And I found myself like, I just can't. The toxins were like taking over my consciousness. I would wake up, the room was a mess. I would wake up, there might be soiled beds next door, the clothes. I would have my clothes in the drawer. Everything would be out of the drawer, on the floor. There were things everywhere. And those toxins, seemed to have only wanted to be my best friend. And that was the time, everyone, I didn't need toxins. I needed to be detoxed because everything around me wasn't what I was used to. I wasn't used to waking up in this room. I wasn't used to going to the kitchen. Everything was different. Then I turned and there was this beautiful sister who has been a great instrument in the Brahma Kumaris for almost 40 years. She no longer knows what she's doing, how she's doing, and she happens to be my mother. And I'm thinking, does she really need to be with me in the room? And I made an answer, I made a response that yes, my detoxed mind said, yes. You put her in a room by herself, she's going to get lost. She's actually even walked out of the complex, lost outside on the streets. It's good that the neighbors know about it and brought her back. I just knew I had to make that sacrifice. And so how can I clean out my system? This is something I can't control. I can't control how I need her to be. And she is not what she used to be. And I was responding with toxins. I had to catch myself over and over and over again. And I would sit in solitude and I would talk to God and I go, what's wrong with me? I don't feel good. This isn't me. And you know, God the Supreme is the greatest detoxer. Because when I would sit in my meditation room or just have that space, I would even talk to my friends about it and they go, well, you knew what you were signing up for. And I remembered when I would hear them tell me that, I would say, yes, I did. But why are these toxins working through me? What was I missing? And what I'd realized was I was directing my thoughts to what wasn't clear, what wasn't a clean deal, which wasn't pure, which wasn't really the way that I think I wanted it. And so, of course, I was going to serve the toxins in my system. And I could feel it, how my cells and my body was feeling yucky. And I knew that if I didn't catch myself, I would wake up one day not even being able to identify when I'm clean or when I'm not clean. The toxins would have just taken me over, that it'll just be so natural. I would see happy people, good for you. Maybe I'd see people that have all their lives together and everything is going great, good for you. Maybe I would have reached that point that I wouldn't even know how to check myself anymore. But thanks to the universe, thanks to the teachings of Raj Yoga, thanks to whatever love has been put in me, I woke up and I said, no way, that isn't who I am. I'm going to take my detoxer. And then I would go in meditation and I would sit in the awareness that I know the soul, whatever the soul feels, it keeps that recording really deeply etched in the soul for a long time. And I knew that as much as I might be feeling frustration and toxins at this moment because of this situation that I have created or the universe gave me as a gift, I knew I had the power to also give it a time limit and say, you know what, that's enough. After this, I won't go there anymore. And the moment I declared that, and I started to sit in meditation with God, with the source of light, with the supreme being. God is, it's this consciousness. You see, the energy of God is when you allow the energy of purity and power to intervene. It's like a divine intervention into whatever you're going through. And we call God in the Brahma Kumaris Baba. It was like I just called Baba and says, you and I both know that's not me. You know, that's not who I am. And every time I go in and I would have this intimate connection with the Supreme, with Baba, it was like all of that toxin just left me. It was like I had no more space to think from that place of intent. I had no more space in my consciousness to interpret the situation that I'm going through, that it would have the motivation of algae in it. Just couldn't do it. It was similarly to when I was drinking my cup of coffee this morning and I saw that detox tea box. I'm thinking tea bag, tea box, I wasn't sure. And I know I should have just said, no, don't drink the coffee. Why don't you go for the detox and you're doing this? And everything inside of me knew that detox tea would be so much better for you than this coffee, you know. I'm saying that somehow, somewhere, the better part of me, what I've been taught, what I remembered that touched my intellect and my heart as a Raj Yogi, all my interactions with many other Raj Yogis and friends connected to our culture and friends that are not connected to my culture. But it was like everything that I had known to be true, that the human spirit by nature is pure and peaceful. When I started to connect that to source, everyone, I just started to become detoxed. It was like there was no more room or space for me to hold that vibration or that consciousness in me. So you eat food, it comes out. You drink water, it comes out of your system. How do you let sorrow out of your system? How do you let, when you've had a waste thought about someone that you love, out of your system? How do you let go the many times you've criticized someone, compared yourself to someone, competed with someone? How many times? The 3 C's, I talk a lot about those too. Compete, compare, criticize. How many times have you done that? And you know it's not good for your system. Where do those feelings get channeled in your system? Where do they go? Where do they go from here? Where do they go? Where do they go? You see it, you think of it, you criticize it, you speak about it, you choose to hear it. And then you start to feel it in your heart. And before you know it, that's all you do. You've gotten used to being toxic. And then detoxing your mind is always just a thought away. It's like one tea bag. It's like one thought away. Hey, wait a minute. There is no way I am that vibration of toxins. You look at the world and you look at world leaders making decisions that sacrifice their own citizens because of the desire to stay in power. Their toxin, their thoughts that are governed by algae somehow gives them I wouldn't even call it discernment, but it gives them some belief system that I can sacrifice a few thousand of my people just to stay in power. I can't begin to stress to you how important the age that we're in to detox our minds is upon us. They say, as is the kin, so is the subject. But you know what? As the subject, let's say we're the subjects, we are the future kings. So why can't we begin to discern for ourselves and say, I have seen what anger, lust, greed, attachment, and ego has done to our humanity. I saw what the man who owned the previous house, greed did in terms of his decision making. I've seen what has been happening in America last year with the life being lost of an African American man, George Floyd, because of someone's lack of empathy. It says, I'm going to put my knee in your neck until you can't breathe anymore. This must be his anger, maybe, his attachment, his ego. There's no way that is coming from his love or peace or purity as a person. So toxic people create toxic results. When you're detoxed, your result will be of cleanliness and detoxation. And I have felt from my own personal journey, everyone, I don't know, I can't do it without having a deep relationship and connection to source. I was asking a lot of my friends and contacts and associates. I said, I know everyone's talking about pandemic, economy, leaders, but how come I don't hear a lot of people talking about their relationship, their reawakening, their intimate ties to the energy of God? And even if I did, then I'd hear people, some folks will tell me, Sister Jenna, why is God doing this? And I go, how in the world could you now project the blame on God at a time like this? There's an atheist once that came to me and he was like all about, couldn't stand God, hated God for everything and the evil that exists in the world. And I just simply asked him, you know, just by chance, have you lied or cheated or gotten angry with anyone lately within the last week or so? He says, of course. Where was God to stop your tongue? Where was God to stop you from lying? Wait, since you don't believe in a God anyway, but since you think there is some God that is supposed to do something magical, well, why didn't he stop you from yelling at your child or your spouse or stealing or lying? Because he wasn't in your consciousness. And so during the pandemic, I kept wondering, why isn't everyone talking about the awakening of God in their consciousness? I couldn't get it. I couldn't understand how come this pandemic wasn't the awakening of a divine intervention of God, of Baba's light, awakening the consciousness and detoxing souls from their deep, deep impressions of algae. And I had realized, like what I felt this morning, we've gotten so accustomed to algae that we're going to need some help to be acclimated and comfortable with detoxing. Just this morning, I had a choice. Take the detox tea. I dip the coffee, cream and sugar. In the same way, that man that was asking me, where's God here in all of this? And when he was lying and, getting upset or whatever, he allowed that energy to be so natural in him. He didn't allow the energy of God's consciousness to think that I know there's a supreme energy that has a higher vibration, a higher ingredient that can shift the way I feel inside. And then I answered his question. Where's God in all of this? Oh, he's very much present. Do you want to recognize him? Do you? Do you want to feel that energy intervening in your cycle of karma and thoughts and feelings that even though you don't feel so good, the cure is a thought away. The detoxing is a thought away. And yet it just seems like it's not always that easy to get. So in my journey of this past 2 months, when I just felt like my mother's dementia was something I can't handle anymore. And the minute I said, who says I can't handle it? I don't want to handle it. That's different. And I don't want to handle it because I think I'm supposed to be doing something else, not this. And just that thought and motive alone was serving my toxins inside. And the moment I sat in my quiet room in Baba's room, and I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, you aren't that type of person. You're not mean. You're not unkind, Jen. Those are your toxins. That's your algae. It's not you. But you're God's child. And so you're clean inside. And the moment I knew I had the power to take control over my choices, give me that detox tea anytime. And it was where I would ask myself, it started like this. And again, it was because of my mother with the dementia, all of the changes I've been going through in the last year and a half. I would say to myself, what does love want from me here? What does love want of me and from me right now, right here? And the moment I would ask that question, everyone, my awareness would go directly to God, because I knew out of all the souls in the world, the one that has the energetic resonance that reminds me what unconditional love feels like, that reminds me of what purity feels like, that reminds me that I'm here to be unattached and be an embodiment of love, that reminds me that purity is the way. The moment I was able to tap into that, completely accepted the journey. And I'm proud to tell you, I haven't had one toxic day with the soul playing the role of my mother with a very entertaining stage of dementia. People will ask me, they say, Sister Jenna, how is Sister Geeta? I go, entertaining. I just have no other way. What am I going to say? Am I going to say she's flooded the bathroom 100 times? Am I going to say she's been hiding food in the drawer? Am I going to say, oh, she takes the food and feed all the pictures in the house? Am I going to say, I told her one day when I didn't have my virtues, this was like a month ago, you have to stop feeding these pictures, I told her. Please listen to this one. I says, you can't keep feeding pictures. They're not real. They're just pictures. And then I have a practice where every day I cook a food in yogic vibrations. And we have this practice in the Brahma Kumaris where we cook a pure item in remembrance of God, of Baba. And we take out that food from the pot and put it in a sacred little plate. And then we'll go in our meditation room. And then we'll offer that to Baba for Baba to take those vibrations and, purify the food. And so here I am telling Sister Geeta, you can't go offering food to all these pictures in the house. I mean, every picture has food on the mouth of the frame. And when I told her, you can't offer these pictures food, she just turned to me in the sweetest divine smile. And she just says, you offer picture to that man every day. And that man happened to have been Brahma Baba, who was the founder of the Brahma Kumaris. And at that moment, I was like, she's so right. I do the same thing. And I did not realize it until that moment. So even in the midst of your detoxing, your toxins, you can learn so much about yourself. Just things that you missed. Anyway, as I kind of wrap up our time together and just invite you into just this kind of a investigation. Whatever is troubling your spirit, whatever has you feeling insecure, uncertain, not protected, whatever has you feeling like I'm not loved, meditation, Raj Yoga becomes a means for your inner eye, your third eye, to see God. You know, once you're in that meditative stage, the real you starts to come to the surface. It's when you're pulling all of your emotions from the outside that sometimes you're just not able to give God or Baba a chance. And it becomes a little challenging to handle the unfolding of the karmic energies around you. So I just want to kind of share with you that my invitation to you, something that I'm doing more and more and over again, engage in a very sincere, thoughtful, intimate companionship and dialogue with the energy of the divine, of God. And if it doesn't feel like you're connected, to the energy of God, and there are times that I don't feel that connection, maybe I've been too extroverted in doing service or fulfilling my administration roles or traveling or being involved with a million things, then ask yourself, what does love want of me here? And the minute you ask yourself the question, what does love want of me here? God will appear. That energy of God will appear for you. And the moment that energy of God appears for you, the right thought will emerge. You would be detoxed at that moment. It would be impossible for you to apply a toxic thought or decision by using that method. All right. So I think I've rambled on long enough, and I think I wanted to just share from my personal experience. I know you've had so many, I'm sure, such eloquent speakers who have helped you on your journey. And I know that where I'm concerned, I learn most from just observing what I'm going through and applying whatever I've grasped in my teachings and experience of Raj Yoga with the Brahma Kumaris, with the BKs. And I just have to say that I'm very appreciative of the journey thus far. Really, I look at it as a big blessing, massive blessing. All right, so I'm not sure if anyone resonated with some of the thoughts that I've shared today, but I brought you into my real-time current experience that I've been going through and what it actually takes to detox oneself Sometimes the circumstances and the situation is the detoxer, because it gives you a chance to say, switch, pivot. You don't need to go down that road of thinking. Because once the hurt or the anger or the fear or the frustration enters your feelings, it's very, very challenging to get it out. You need a whole lot of love to remove the memory of that emotion. And I've felt that with my connection to Source, to God. And again, like I said earlier, if that's not always easy to establish for yourself, just ask yourself, what does love want here from me? How would love respond to this situation? And God will appear. All right, Natalia, tell me.
Lovely. Thanks, Sister Jenna. So honest, so real. We really appreciate this. There are a couple of questions I'd like to ask that have come in the chat. The first one, how do you deal with toxic people who are not very nice or don't have very nice thoughts for others? That's the first question.
I'll have to say, from my experience, to whoever asked that question, it wasn't easy for me when I was younger because I was so sensitive to people's thoughts and vibrations, especially on me. And it would just devastate me. I mean, I would literally fall apart inside, even though I was smiling in front of you. I was breaking apart knowing that I could sense what you were feeling or saying or talking about me. But I had learned that I kept focusing on the good that I was doing or the good that I was being called to do in life. And what helped me to become more reassuring and more solid in myself was all the experience of the good that I started to focus on, that I was being used by God to perform. And somehow, when I would hear people's thoughts, or if somebody said something critical about me, or somebody was very toxic, what I've noticed, and this is many years later, I can handle it better now, because I am not what they say I am completely. Maybe there's an element of that in my vibrational frequency, but that's not really the full definition of who I am anymore. I have too much proof of the good person that I am. When I do my life review and I look back at my journey, there's no way I'm going to believe in what they've said now. So I'm going to give you like the different journeys. Yes, when you're younger in it, yeah, I think it can definitely affect you. I'm flabbergasted by politicians who can just talk to each other and call each other's name and go back on the same voting floor and talk and smile with each other. And in Washington, that happens a lot here. And I'm like, how could they even talk to that person after they said that? But they do, because they just focus on the good that they need to do for the country, for their constituents, and they keep going. So I would recommend that, to keep investing in the good that you must do. And the second thing is, try not to feed too much in their toxicity, because then that gives you the vibration of where they're at and you can pick it up. So I was mentioning to you, Sister Geeta, my mother, who's pretty entertaining, she wears her clothes now, the reverse side. She puts on her blouses and her t-shirts as pants. So one day I noticed I was putting on my blouse and my petticoat reverse side. And I was like, oh my God, because I saw her do that so many times. I was becoming her. So you have to be very, very careful. If someone is toxic, okay, more power to you. but what do I have to do? You have to like, what's my good? What am I called to do here? You have to focus on that no matter what, if you're going to protect yourself. So that's my answer.
Great, lovely. Thank you very much. Okay, there's another couple of questions come in. Interesting one. What makes someone lie? And what's the reason behind that?
I'll tell you this, when I was transferred from Miami by Daddy Janky, I was in Miami and she sent me to go for training under Sister Mohini in New York. I mean, who goes to New York City to become spiritual? I did. Anyway, I went there and I remembered I had just finished closing up my nightclubs, you know. I'm still Jenny from the block with an awakening. It's like Jennifer Lopez all of a sudden having an awakening and she's like, what do I do with this, right? And then here I am, I'm thrusted in an ashram. And I don't know what happened, but this day I turned down the air condition because it was so hot or something at Harmony House. This is the facility that I was being trained in managing. And I remembered the senior sister coming to me and say, who touched this? I was like, I don't know. I wondered, why did I just do that? Why did I just do that? I have now broken her trust in me for a long time. And at that moment, I realized I was weak in my character. I wasn't secure about who I was. It's a great lesson. The second thing is I had gotten so many corrections and such, pulling of ears every single day that I thought to myself, I can't take one more pull air. I just can't. And I thought that my not being honest at that time was just protecting my vulnerability. In a way, I just wanted to protect the fact that I wasn't strong enough at that time. So I would say that we lie when we're not in our strongest identity or our strongest place of character, but you don't stay there. There are ways that you can correct that. You can go back to the person and say, I'm sorry, I just don't know why I said it, but I must have been weak in my nature. And you tell them, I apologize, I lied. Or you write 108 times that you lied. Why did you? What did you want out of it? And then the third thing is you do good to compensate for that lie, because what that lie is saying to you, there's a hole. There's a hole in your belief system about how grand and beautiful and powerful you are. And every time you lie, you let the beauty and the power and the strength and the quality that you are seep out. When are you going to fix it? Everybody lies. So one is that you can lie with changing the air conditioning unit, but how often do you lie about not believing that you are pure, that you are peace, and that you're powerful beyond measure, especially when a challenging relationship comes in front of you and you fail miserably. At that moment, you lied to yourself because you didn't believe you could give love to that person. So don't think a lie is just cheating somebody or lying about an air conditioning unit or something. It could be that you don't believe how beautiful you are. That's another kind of lie. And so I think we all lie at some level or the other. And I think that this new age that we're in, where there's so much openness and acceptance about just being who we are, I've appreciated this age so much because it's giving each of us permission to at least accept our flaws with the intent to make them into diamonds.
Brilliant. Wonderful. Right. So the questions are coming in. Let's maybe you can have a couple more. There's two that are very similar. And well, this is from Facebook, but this is new to me and I struggle to connect with the Supreme. Another one also saying about connecting to the Source Supreme. It's new to me. Any comments?
So I had mentioned earlier that use what I've used when I don't feel the connection to God's light. I will ask myself when I'm going through a situation or circumstance, or even when I'm just having a great day, what does love want of me here? And just do it right now. Whoever asks the question, just ask yourself at this moment, what does love want of me in this session? And right there, the response that you're going to get is something from God. And as you get more comfortable and accustomed to how God responds to you, because God's response is a very divine intervention, it's a divine conscious intervention in the way that you think and feel, that the more you practice this, then you realize having a connection is good with God, but having a relationship with God is sweeter. So throughout the day, you're checking in. And in the teachings of the Brahma Kumaris will say, God is light. Okay, I don't know how to have a relationship with light. I know because you're light, but if you've been living in a very human consciousness, it's hard to feel the light. But every time you're positive, and whenever you say, what does love want of me? You are in the light. Get used to what it means to be light, to connect to God as light. It's just that each time you connect to it, it gets bigger and bigger, and bigger and bigger. And your love just gets bigger, that you start to feel like your compassion could hug the whole world if needed. So ask the question, what does love want of me here? And see what the feeling is in your heart and connect that. This is how God would respond to me. And that's a percentage, another percentage, another percentage, as it grows into a relationship for you. I hope that helped a little.
Right, I think we've got time for one more, if you don't mind. But someone's asking, why do we experience so many emotions and feelings and stress? What's going on there that we have so many emotions like this? Do you want to comment essentially?
I don't know if I can comment essentially on that one because I've gone the opposite direction, everyone. I came to Brahma Kumaris when I was in my very, very early 20s, and the knowledge and everything resonated, and I was so detached and loving and balanced, not super, super emotional. And for the last, maybe it's the pandemic, I don't know, but for the last 2 years, they're just emotions just flipping out everywhere inside of me. I'm like, I'm not able to go to India, and I'm thinking of India, and whenever I imagine it, I just start to get emotional inside of me. And so my answer to your question is it's past. It's past experiences that are coming up in your consciousness to be loved, to be resolved, to be released. Just let them process. I'm trying for myself personally not to feed too much into it at a cultural level. As Indians, as a soul playing the part of a half Indian, if you're not feeling into something, you're not alive, you know. And growing up in the West, you're like, that's way too much feelings for me, you know. I can be detached from this. So what I would say is, if the feelings are coming up, what I have been doing for myself is to just back up a little bit. Imagine you're in the 10th row of the theater and you're looking at the emotion and the feeling and you're asking, what are you trying to show me? You know, because usually the feelings are trying to show me something I've been through, a bruise, and that actually I'm healing, or I'm ready to heal. I'm ready to let this go. And the emotion is basically helping you to just say, I see you, I know you're here. And I mean, whenever you're ready to release me, I'm okay, I can go now. So sometimes the emotions need to be very, very obvious to help you to discern, I think I can release you now. Because they could be sitting there in a very dormant position and they will come up at a time that might not be the best time for you. So if they're coming up, observe, look at them, ask you, what is it that you're trying to show me? Maybe it's time for me to release you, and say, okay, it's been great. Thank you. Bye. That's what I do sometimes.
Right, great. Thank you very much. Apologies, we can't answer the rest of your questions due to time. So can I ask that we now lead into a meditation, Sister Jenna?
I produced an album with Grammy Award winner Ricky Cage, who I took to Mount Abu. I think it was 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, with Marla Maples, Donald Trump's second wife. And Ricky called me and said, I would love for your voice to do a kind of a word meditation over my music. And as I was coming down the mountaintop, I started to put these words together. And this one came as, it was called Keep Moving No Matter What. And I felt that this meditation was about detoxing. No matter what you go through, keep moving no matter what. And so I offer you this gift of a meditation today. Enjoy it. Keep moving no matter what. There's a flow. This thing called life. It moves us ever onward, upward, forward. Like rivers of water, it keeps moving, no matter what. Over and under and round it flows. Let the currents take you on the journey of life. Simply keep going with the flow. Keep moving, no matter what.
Well, from all of us online, Facebook, Zoom, webcasts, YouTube, thank you very, very much for such a rich, rich talk, so honest, so open, so real, that really helped us to connect with what you're saying. A couple of things I want to take away that you said. The greatest power is the power we have to choose, and also the way you interpret things is so crucial. So those points really helped me today. So thank you so much, Sister Jenna, and we'd like to maybe invite you again from America soon.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.